In their tongue, he's Dovahkiin, Dragonborn.
Welcome to part 2 of a 3-part series going over the Perkus Maximus mod. This time we're going to be going over the Thief class. Before we get started, if you haven't seen the first video, it will explain what exactly the Perkus Maximus mod does, as well as go over briefly what the Mage class is and what changes for magic users. For the focus of the Thief, the main perks you're going to want to focus on is Alchemy, Speech, Dexterity, which is substituting pickpocketing, Wayfarer, which is substituting lockpicking, Sneak, and Light Armor. In this video I'm going to go over more of the Sneak, Wayfarer, and Dexterity, as well as Alchemy, because those are the main perks that you will most likely be using with this class. I won't go over Light Armor until we hit the Warriors, simply because as a Thief, armor is not something you really need to worry about for yourself. It's more over the enemy's armor you need to worry about. If you're wondering why my UI looks different, I am using a mod called Extended UI, and also if you go into it, unlike the previous video, the description's a lot more clear. This isn't thanks to the Defluffing the Perkus Maximus mod, which will also be in the link in the description. But going over the Sneak class for the Thief, as you can see, the first 2 levels, at level 1 of Stealth, enemy detection view cone is reduced 25 degrees, and Sneak is 15% better. For those who don't know what essentially a view cone is, if you've played Metal Gear Solid, it is the direction that an enemy can see. Usually it is around a 45-degree angle. It covers a little bit of their peripheral as well as a distance in front of them in which they can see. Grabbing perks into this will actually reduce that view cone to a smaller amount, to a point where you can actually stand right in front of the enemy. Rank 2 increases the view cone decreases the view cone by 50 degrees, and Sneak is 30% better. Moving on from that, Lightfoot is you don't activate trap pressure plates. Also, at rank 2, movement speed is increased 20 and reduces influence on sneak detection. Prodigies. Now, Prodigies, unlike focuses that are from the Mage class, are lower tier classifications that you can use. What these do is automatically unlock 2 perks in a class. So, for instance, if I use the Prodigy, the Infiltrator, I will instantly get a perk in Thief's Toolbox and Shadowbound rank 1. Now, like the Focus class in the Mage, you can only pick 1 Prodigy. So, you want to actually know what you're going to be picking, because each Prodigy unlocks 2 perks in that tree. And while you do get free perks into one, you may not have enough perks to actually level up something else. As in Skyrim, you only can go to level 81. That means you only have 81 perks. Muffled Movement reduces armor noise by 30%. Blackjack is an interesting one. While sneaking and holding a blunt weapon or bare fist activates a target and knocks it out. Only works if the target is not wearing a helmet. Interesting enough, I tested this out and there are a few issues with this. While sometimes the target will get back up and will activate pretty much that he's seen you, but he will sheath his weapon and stand there for a brief moment of time. So we're gonna try this again and hopefully we can get it to work properly. But going on from that, Spinebreaker. Blunt weapons ignore armor-specific damage reduction. If you have the PerMa, in the PerMa, which is basically if you have PerMa Magic, or PerMa Mage, PerMa Thief, and PerMa Warrior, it will target enemies who wear upper body armor and helmets take reduced sneak damage attacks. So if you have those activated, which you most likely will when you install the mod, it will reduce the sneak attack damage on targets wearing helmets, which makes sense. So it's a buff and debuff to yourself. Moving on from that, the silent roll is while you're crouching. If you press the sprint button, you'll actually do a silent roll. We'll go over that in a minute. The Intruder, while trespassing in any area, you gain 30% sneak bonus as well as do 15% more damage with sneak attacks. Last Breath. This is another one I had an issue with. While you can activate a sleeping target to instantly kill it. Now, while I was practicing with this on another character, for some reason the proc wouldn't come up. So I reinstalled the mod and did additional testing, so hopefully we can get it to work this time. Chameleon. Lighting has 30% influence on sneak success. So that means if you're in light, they'll less likely be able to see you. It decreases the chances that if you're standing under a torch, or if you're under the broad daylight, or if you're under the sun, that enemies can still see you while you're in sneak mode. So it's very useful to pick up. These Toolbox. This is an interesting one because I believe this takes not directly, but it's influenced from the game Thief if you've played it. What this does is allows you to craft pieces or new arrows such as rope, light source, and noisemakers. At rank 2, what this does is allow you to make oil, fire, and water arrows. This is some misspelling here. Arcone Assassin increases sneak damage multiplier to spells to 1.5. That means you'll do greater damage if you use a spell while sneaking, but because spells use noise, you're going to be very careful with this one. Opportunist. Sneak attacks against targets currently engaged in combat are 25% stronger. So that means if you're sneaking around while there's a battle going on and you hit someone while they're in active combat, that means you will do 25% more damage to that target. At rank 2, the damage is up to 40%. Anatomy. Sneak attacks with piercing weapons such as swords and daggers, and I believe spears as well, ignore 45% armor and are somewhere between 10 and 25% stronger. This is a random number. At rank 2, you pretty much ignore almost all armor, up it to 90%, and you do an additional 25 to 40% stronger damage. So at this point, you almost ignore all armor, and you can almost one-shot anything depending on what weapon you have and what you're fighting against. Shadowbound. Now this is an actual active ability for the sneak class. Once every 5 minutes at ranked 1, you can enter sneak mode and it will make you invisible for 2 minutes. Now the timing is a little off on this, and so is the way that this activates. I'll try and show it off after I go over the rest of the sneak perks here. At rank 2, once every 3 minutes you enter sneak mode and are invisible for 2 seconds. So you get a 2-minute buff to the spell. So instead of every 5 minutes, you get it every 3 minutes. Malevolent Touch, is touch sneak spell attack damage multiplier is increased to 2 at ranked 1. For the purpose of this, I'll go ahead and grab Arcone Assassin. At rank 2, touch spell sneak attack damage is increased to 2, and also when you use a touch spell sneak attack, the target is paralyzed for 1 second. Ambush. After a one-handed sneak attack, time is slowed down by 25% for 2 seconds. At rank 2, the time is increased from 2 seconds to 4 seconds, but still has the 25% slowdown time. I actually had issues as well activating this, so hopefully we can get it to work this time around. Nocturnal's Refuge. While Shadowbound's invisibility is active, health, stamina, and magic regeneration is increased by 50%, and you move 25% faster. That's pretty self-explanatory. And Assassinate, which is directly from the vanilla version of Skyrim, but instead of it having a percentage chance, it's more of an active thing. While sneaking and carrying a dagger, you can activate a target to instantly kill it. That means if you have a dagger in your hand and you initiate an attack on an unsuspected enemy from behind, 9 out of 10 times you will pretty much assassinate and slit the throat of any enemy. So again, we'll show this off here. So here we are inside of the cave, and to show off one of the perks that you get with the Thief's Toolbox, you'll get water arrows. I'll show off here. This arrow will extinguish fires, so pretty much any torch, open campfire. If you aim, and you get the water to actually hit the torch, you can put out torches. Anyone who's played Thief will actually know what this. See, this is very familiar. Now, word of warning: don't actually aim at the fire. You want to aim off to where the water actually hits the torch. So we'll get back our daggers here.
You're worrying and get some rest. Your shift is coming up and I don't want you dozing off again like last time.
So the reason we're waiting here is because we want one of the enemies to actually fall asleep, so we can try and activate the I believe it's called Last Dying Breath, or it's called Last Breath, where you can actually kill an enemy while he's sleeping. As I said before, I've had issues activating this on enemies sleeping. I think the reason being is it only works on non-armored people, so we'll see here. As so, it only works on armored or on non-armored people. But I can actually show off another ability. This is the blackjack, or the blackjack perk, I believe it's called. To where you can knock out an enemy either with a blunt weapon or using your fist itself. So for this, we're going to be using our fist to knock out this enemy. We're going to get close, and as you can see, when you activate it, you'll get the option to either pickpocket or to knock out. Now here's where I said that I had an issue with it before. As you can see, technically he's knocked out, but he got up and stood back up like he noticed me. And if I try and activate it again, I actually can't get to him. Because he's registered as being knocked out, but he's technically not dead. So that's an issue that I've had with this. So be aware of that if they do actually stand up when you use that ability. They are still knocked out, but technically, use the dodge roll here. And there you can see the slow down ability. It actually activated this time. As you can see, for those 2 second duration time is slowed down. So we'll move a little bit further on in the cave and I'll show off a few more abilities for moving on. So here's going to be a good place to show off another perk that you get with the Thieves Toolbox. As you can see here, I have something called Noisemaker arrows. These arrows will make loud noise upon impact. So as you can see the sleeping guard here. We actually combine this with so actually you see you can do a lot of cool stuff with this. Now I actually messed that up, but you can get the general idea of what you can do with the different types of arrows. You can make a noisemaker, shoot out the torches, pretty much be a really good assassin slash thief. So here we're going to try a different array of the techniques we've learned here, just to give a general demonstration of what you can do. So we're going to try and use the blunt weapon on this guy here. Now again, same thing happened to where I actually couldn't kill him in one hit, but he's technically knocked out. Which is a shame. But there you can see the time slowed down once again. Use the dodge roll to cover more ground here. And there you can see in a more practical situation where the time slow down might be more beneficial. Simply because it took time for it to activate and register that he actually saw me. So I was able to still get the sneak attack off. So of course, in bright broad daylight, you're still going to be seen, but
So I can stab you in the back.
and the last not one of the last arrows, but the more practical arrows that you might take use in Skyrim is the rope arrow. Again, this is taken from inspiration from Thief, or at least I believe so. Whenever you shoot a ledge or any surface, you can see a small rope appear. I'll try and shoot that again, since it's a little off from where I need to go. As you can see, a rope appears down. When you activate the rope, you'll start climbing up. Now, unfortunately, this is only for first-person view, so it'll be a little awkward when you first use it. But you can essentially jump off and climb up the areas where it might be a little bit harder. Or you can set yourself up for ambushes. So, in theory, it's very useful. Though the way Skyrim's kind of designed, there's not really too many high places on the outside world to where this may be practical. So this is more for inside dungeons, castles, things of that nature. So we'll move on from that and we'll take a look at the light armor. So the next perk you might want to focus on if you decide to take the thief route is light armor. Those who train in light armor are more efficient to use hide, leather, elven, and glass armors. Of course, this extends out further if you use custom mods to anything that's classified as light armor. So the Prodigy for this is the Windwalker. Instantly grants Adrenaline Rush and Agility ranked 1. Now, again, as I said before, any Prodigy that you take, you can only take one of, so be very careful of what you decide to take. I would say take a Prodigy of something of a class that you're going to be using as a secondary perk for. So if you put a lot of perks into your stealth, I would save your Prodigy for something along the lines of either light armor, speech crafting, something that you're not going to put a lot of points into. But moving on from there, Nimble Warfare is the first perk here. If the warrior perk is used, reduces all incoming direct hit staggers levels by 1 while wearing head, leg, body, and arm armor. If not, makes light armor protect 10% more of, I guess, yourself. That's a little weird wording there. But what this means is basically, if using the warrior's perk, you will take less staggers if you're wearing full light armor. So that means you won't be less likely be able to get staggered. If not using a perk, then that means light armor does 10% more defense. At ranked 1. Rank 2, the light armor protection increases to 20%. And it reduces all incoming direct hit bleeding levels by 1, so that means that you will take less bleeding damage along with staggering damage if you have the warrior perk. This is for rank 2. For rank 3, it reduces all incoming direct hits debuffs by level 1, so any spell or attack that debuffs the player, such as staggering, bleeding, disarmament, things like that, will actually be decreased by 1 by wearing all light armor. If you don't have the warrior's perk, the light armor protection is increased to 30%. Avoidance. While moving and wearing light head, leg, body, and arm armor, all incoming melee attacks are 15% weaker. So the premise of wearing light armor is that you're always on the move. You're not a standing target. You're going from one target to the next, attacking, killing, moving on to the next to the next. So with this avoidance, you actually take decreased damage as you're moving from enemy to enemy. So it's really for those who want to get in and get out of fights. At level 2, the next rank while moving and wearing all light armor, all incoming melee attacks and destruction spells are decreased by 15%. So basically, along with melee attacks, destruction spells such as fire, ice, stuff like that are also decreased by 15%. Exploit weakness, light. Against enemies wearing at least one piece of light armor and no heavy armor, ignore 20% armor and deal 10% more weapon damage. So this is interesting. So, because a lot of enemies will be wearing multiple armor sets, such they'll have a heavy helmet, or they'll have a heavy chest piece and light leggings. So, you ignore 20% of the armor and deal 10% more weapon damage to that target if they're not either wearing all light or all heavy armor, or they're trying to mix armor. So, again, that's a very useful perk to pick up. Thick padding. While wearing a light armor cuirass and at full health, incoming weapon damage deals 75% less damage. So this is something good for initiating fights. That first hit you'll take is significantly reduced. After that, I believe it goes down to whatever stat you have. Disjunct Dispersion. Grants the toggle ability Disjunct Dispersion. When activated, it reduces your magicka to 0 while active and while wearing no heavy armor. Magic does not regenerate, and effects that restore magic are 100% weaker, but magic resistance is increased by 50%. So, if you're playing as a thief, you're most likely not going to be using any magic or very little to no magic at all. So this is actually a really good perk for people who don't want to play as a mage, as a strictly as a thief, or even a warrior in this case. Pretty much you drain out your magic to gain a 50% magic resistance, so it's good for taking on mages. The only downside I can see to this is if you're trying to mix armor with light and heavy armor, you have to unequip your heavy armor, which means you could be significantly weaker, depending. So it's something that each player would need to play with. Swiftness. If warrior perks are used, negates attack speed, malices, and light armor. If not, increases attack speed by 5% while not wearing heavy gauntlets. So again, pretty self-explanatory there. Agility. While wearing light armor leggings for those 3 seconds after initial sprint, incoming ranged attacks deal no damage. So if you're fighting against archers and you're trying to rush down to get to the archer, after 3 seconds of you sprinting towards the archer, any ranged attack that comes towards you and hits you will no longer deal any damage. That's for ranked 1. For rank 2, pretty much while wearing light armor leggings and sprinting towards incoming range damage deals no damage. That means no matter how long you've been sprinting or the initial sprint itself, once you start sprinting, no ranged attacks can hurt you. At least no ranged weapon attacks. Magic can still hurt you. Let me correct myself there. Reckless Abandon. Grants the lesser power of Reckless Abandon. When used, reduces armor value by 50%, increases melee damage by X%, where X is 10% of the armor lost. Lasts for 20 seconds, can be used once after resting, and only while wearing no heavy armor. Cannot be used while armor spells are active. So, for this ranked 1, you pretty much make yourself significantly weaker in order to be significantly stronger. So, if you're wearing very good light armor and you've upgraded to a certain amount, and you think you can take on a lot of guys, you need to take out a lot of guys quickly, which is the whole premise of wearing light armor and being a thief. What you can do is pop Reckless Abandonment at level 1, and while you'll take significantly 50% more damage, or at least your armor's reduced by 50%, that reduction actually goes into your attack. So you can pretty much do a lot of damage to a lot of enemies quickly. So just be careful though, because you can potentially die quicker, but that's the life of a thief, right? At rank 2, Reckless Abandonment uses 50% of the armor lost instead of 10%, and can be used 3 times after resting. So initially at level 1 you can only use it once before you have to rest and use it again. At rank 2 you can use it 3 times after resting. Free movement. If warrior perks are used, negates movement speed, light armor, and malices and light armor. If not, increases movement speed by 5% while we're not wearing any heavy armor. Again, a little self-explanatory there. Clear Mind. If warrior perks are used, negate spellcasting penalties for light armor. So that means if you're wearing light armor, anything that negates you while using that, if you're using a warrior perk, is no longer void. While wearing light armor helm, each incoming spells hit increase your magical regeneration by 25% for 4 seconds. So a little interesting there, because robes are considered light armor, but that's a lot of perks to put into Clear Mind if you're trying to be a mage as well. Endeavor. After taking an unblocked weapon hit, you take no weapon damage for 1 second. So that means if an enemy actually gets to strike you, that next initial strike, or the next initial 2 or 3 strikes, depending on how fast they can attack in a second, you'll take no damage for that. So at rank 2, this increases from 1 second to 2 seconds. Secure Grip. When wearing light armor gauntlets, power attacks consume 10% less stamina, and you cannot be disarmed. Very useful. Adrenaline Rush. Incoming power attacks increased movement speed by 30%, lasts for 2 seconds. Adrenaline Overload. Adrenaline Rush additionally recovers 10 points of stamina per second and grants 25% more melee damage for 2 seconds. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Potential. If warrior perks have used, doubles passive bonuses from shining to light, or from smithing for light material armors. If not, grants these bonuses. So initially, if you have warrior perks or you're using warrior perks, whenever you make armor from the smithing, you'll pretty much get double the passive bonuses. So say you'll get pretty much 20 more hit points. If you use the potential perk, you can potentially gain 40% more hit points from that initial 20. If not, you'll still get the initial 20% hit points. Killing Spree. While wearing no heavy armor, killing an enemy in melee combat range grants a 5% boost to movement speed for 10 seconds, and this stacks. So again, I'll show what this could potentially do. While wearing no heavy armor, this is for the next rank. While wearing no heavy armor, killing enemy in melee combat range stacks a 5% bonus movement and attack speed for 10 seconds. So, initially with the 5% movement speed, you still get attack speed. So, again, this goes into the premise that as a thief with pretty sufficient armor, you still want to get in and get out. You don't want to be in the fight for too long. You want to go from one enemy to the next. So, we'll show off a little bit of combat in light armor. So, stay tuned for that. So here we have a group of Thalmor soldiers. Just gonna piss them off. See if any of them use arrows. I don't think they do. But this would be a good time to actually show off one of the patented abilities that you get is a toggle ability, Disjunct Dispersion. Blah, words are hard. What this does is pretty much increases your magic resistance but drains your magic. So we'll pop that, and I'll take less damage from the fire attacks. As you can see, I'm taking less and less damage as the fight goes on, but still doing a nice amount of damage. And as you can see, my attack speed actually increases as the fight goes on. So the purpose of light armor is that you'll always be on the move, and that you'll always be fighting. You don't want to stand still in the middle of a fight because you'll lose a lot of your buffs. So this is something that you want to play with along with the sneak abilities. It can be really useful as a thief. So we're going to be moving on next to the dexterity, which is going to be pickpocketing. So here we're at the dexterity, which again is for basically pickpocketing. The first perk you can get is Sleight of Hand. Picking pockets is 10% easier when picking locks. Start with a 45-degree spot of where you can actually unlock the chest. At rank 2, pickpocketing is 30% easier, and when picking locks. Bleh. When picking locks, you start at within 25%, or not 25%, but 25 degrees of the sweet spot. So pretty much you'll get a closer generalization of where you need to go to actually unlock a chest, or any lock in general. Unburdened, maximum carry weight is increased by 50%. The maximum carry weight is increased by 100% at rank 2. Various clutter items have their weight reduced by 50%. This covers a lot of stuff, including ignites, ores, pellets, dawn scraps, goblets, and more. So pretty much anything that such as any crafting tools, gold, lockpicks, their overall weight is reduced by 50%, so you can carry a lot more things. The Prodigy for this instantly grants Greed and Unarmed. Again, I would save this for a perk that you're not actually going to be using a lot of and need the extra perks in. Open Sesame creates a key for every lock you pick that has a key. Makes stealing keys 80% easier. So this is actually an interesting one. So say you pick a lock in a dungeon. Once you pick that lock, you'll craft a key out of that lock, so you'll no longer have to use a lockpick. That's actually really cool, and a very, very useful perk that I would actually pick up from this tree. Invest. In reverse pickpocketing, a poison or adhesive explosive to trigger at the target. So this means if you want to pretty much sneak up on an enemy, what you can do is you can sneak up on them. You can pretty much put in a bomb or a poison, and at the start of battle that will actually activate. And I'll show this off after I've gone through each one of the mods, or not one of the mods, but each one of the perks here. Inventor unlocks recipes for finger trap and semiconductive device, which will work well with Infest. At rank 2, this unlocks the tripwire bond. At a tanning rack, unlocks recipes for the spike powder at the forge. More stuff that you can use to put in for reverse pickpocketing. And rank 3, unlocks recipes for the spell bomb and oil container at the forge. Utility belt. Inventor gadgets, traps, lockpicks, poisons, potions found in the world are weightless. Also includes fixed value potions crafted with alchemy via perks such as poison burst and camouflage tincture from Wayfar. So pretty much anything such as drinkable potions, as listed here, any traps, any poisons, they're weightless now, so this allows you to carry more things because of the invisible utility belt that you have. Snatch. Time blocking with a fist weapon and no shield equipped it steals the attacker's weapon instantly with no additional crime being committed. So that means in the middle of combat, if you actually block with a fisted weapon, which I will show off here again, you can actually have a chance to actually steal the enemy's weapon, and this will not commit any crime against you. From that, secrecy. Picking locks does not count as a crime. Very useful. We already went over snatch. Noise for coin. Find more gold in chest. Not only does your luck in finding large hauls in your endeavors, your intuition guides you to the fattest purses too. So pretty much whenever you pickpocket someone, you'll get more gold from their gold bags, from their purses, if you will. Trying to go greed, but again, this thing is so weird. Gold has no weight, so initially when you install this mod, gold has a weight. I believe each gold counts as slightly under a pound. With this, you no longer have to worry about that. Treasure Hunter. Chance to find special treasure chest becomes 5% per roll. Chance to find that special treasure in chest increases to 10%. So theoretically, 1 out of 10 chests will have a special treasure in it. That's theoretical math, but that's far fuck math. Anyway, Unarmed can steal equipped items via pickpocket, or equipped weapons via pickpocket, so you can pretty much unarm an enemy before the fight even starts. Very useful. Monkey Grip. Attacking a blocked target that carries a shield as a fist weapon steals the target shield with no additional crime being committed. So, pretty much if a target has a shield and you use a fist weapon, you can have a chance of actually stealing the shield. So, during fights, you can actually unarm an opponent, and they'll have to fight with either their hidden or their spare dagger or their fist themselves, giving you a really good advantage. Removing the Scaffold. Attacking a target that carries armor with a fisted weapon will steal a piece of the target's armor with no additional crime if committed, if the target did not block the attack. Cannot steal shields. So, pretty much you can de-armor someone with this. Ace's Mark can steal worn armor from targets via pickpocket, which I don't even understand how that would work, but anyway. Conviction allows pickpocketing chance to reach 100%. That means anyone you want to pickpocket, you'll pretty much pickpocket with 100% accuracy. So, for this demonstration, we're going to try and pickpocket a few people here in town. So, hopefully we have some luck with this. So, we're going to actually try and pickpocket a few people here. We're going to use some of the perks from the sneak to actually try and get around here. As you can see, at this point, I would probably be caught. But because I have a 100% chance of pickpocketing right off the bat, it's no longer an issue. Again, I don't even know how it's possible to steal the clothes off someone's back, but you can do it now. Of course, in broad daylight, it'd be a little bit harder. Reason I'm searching for coin is supposed to yield greater gold on people who are holding gold on them, but of course. But that's some of the general perks that you get with the dexterity. You're pretty much able to pickpocket whoever you want if you decide to go for this 100%. So as you can see, of course this helps with some of the Nightingale armor that I have here. We'll try and pick over one of the...
You call yourself a wizard? I challenge you to a duel. I won't take no for an answer.
Of course this happens here, so... So here's another example of one of the perks that you can get. So right now I have a fisted weapon, and I'm fighting this orc. And you can see, usually he has a weapon, but I have disarmed him. We'll wait for him to pick up another weapon. So he has a staff right now. And with the dexterity perk, if I block with the right timing, I can actually steal the weapon. It actually takes some practice. So there you go. As you can see, I blocked at the right time, and now I stole his quarterstaff. So again, it takes a little practice to get used to actually blocking correctly with any knuckle-based weapon, or if you happen to have a guitar. Same concept there. Anytime you block with that one-handed weapon, if you block at the right time, you can actually steal weapons from your enemy. So it's actually really cool. It actually changes the pace of battle to where it's more strategic instead of you just wailing until it dies. Next up, we're going to be going over the Wayfarer, which is pretty much was the lockpicking, but has been changed to more of an outdoor person. So I'm not sure if this really fits along with the thief, but regardless, this is what's in the description. So I'm going to read off what this does for people who decide they want to use this path. So for the rank 1 of Traveler, you get a 5% frost resistance and gain 4% movement speed while outdoors. For rank 2, this increases the frost resistance to 10 and grants 8% movement speed while outdoors. The Prodigy for this class is the Beastmaster, which instantly gives you harmony and lower forces of nature. We'll go over those once we get there. Gatherer. Whenever you loot an animal, there's a chance to get an additional pelt or a quality pelt. The chance for a regular pelt is 40%. The chance for a quality pelt is 20%. The pelt you may get depends on the target's race. This is for ranked 1. For rank 2, doubles the chances of getting additional perks or pelts and quality pelts with Gatherer. Increase the chance to recover used arrows from 66%, and this is from 33%. So this is something, the Wayfarer is not really more of a thief, but more of a hunter. So they know the outdoors, they know their enemy, they know how to hunt them, what's the weaknesses. So it's not really for more of a thief. This can be used almost for any class, but if you want to play as a hunter, this is something that you may want to look towards. But moving on from that, lore, lesser creatures. Perks that require you to know a race's lore works with deer, elk, mudcrabs, foxes, hares, skeevers, venomfang skeevers, wolves, and slaughterfish. So that means you know a little bit more about these creatures, you can do a little bit more damage, and you can also loot a little bit more from them since you know their biology a little bit more. Green Thumb. Harvesting plants and that's one additional ingredient, does not include nin root and chrism nin roots. That's pretty self-explanatory. Tracker. Grants to you toggle ability tracking. While tracking is active, you automatically detect all living creatures whose lores perks you have invested in within 100 feet radius. That was for rank 1. For rank 2 Tracker. While tracking is active, you automatically detect all creatures whose lore perks you have invested in within 200 feet radius. This is from 100 to 200. Camouflage. Unlocks the recipe Camouflage Tincture. While outside under the effect of Camouflage Tincture, not attacking in an area of high level. That's kind of weird. We'll have to take a look at what Camouflage Tincture does for more explanation on that. So moving on from that, we have Chosen Fiend. Take 5% less damage from any creatures whose lore perks you have invested in. Deal 5% more damage from any creatures lores you perks you invested in. Deal 5% more fire, frost, and shock damage to any creatures whose lore you've invested in. Same deal here for rank 2. What you do is increases from 5 to 10%. Rank 3 from 10 to 15%. Wild Companion. Grants the Wild Companion lesson power. Once after resting, use it to open up a menu that allows you to select the animal companion that will follow you until it dies. Each lore perk unlocks a new companion. Animal companions are 70% of your level. Lesser creatures, 3 venomfang skeevers, predators, snowy sabercat, forces of nature, frost troll, Solstheim, I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry, Betty Nietzsche, cave dwellers, Chara's hunter, mountainous monsters, mammoth. Changes to creatures selectable by Wild Companion. Interesting. Lore, forces of nature, perks that require you to know the lore works of black bears, bears, snow bears, trolls, and frost trolls. As one, while you're in combat, each non-hostile animal or creature that makes you recover 1 potion of health or 1 point of health, stamina, or magicka per second at random. Interesting. So I guess if you fight in the wild and there's animals around whose lore you already know, you can actually gain back some health, though I don't see that being really useful, but regardless, we'll pick it up. Forerunner. As long as the one detects at least one animal creature, you move and attack 5% faster. Now this is actually useful, and armor is increased by 50 points. So that's actually useful. So lore, predators. A perk that requires you to know a race's lore with Springans, Matrons, Saber Cats, Snowy Saber Cats, and Ice Rafts. Harmony. Grants the toggle ability Harmony. While active, Harmony makes all creatures whose lore you've invested in non-hostile. Creatures covered by lore humanoids and lore dragon are excluded from this effect. So any human or dragons will not be affected by Harmony. Almost anything else will. Lore Solstheim. The perks that requires you to know a creature's lore. This is for Ash Harpers, Recklings, Lurkers, Netches, and Netch Calves. Or Calves. Cave Dwellers, same deal here, except with Charged Reapers, Frozen Charged Hunters, Frozen Spiders, Large Frostbite Spiders, and Giant Frostbite Spiders. Jesus Christ, I hate spiders. Lore, Great Monsters. Perk that requires you to know a lore's worth of mammoths, giants, dragons, undead dragons, and Alduran. Humanoids. This is for basically all races in the game. Foreign Armor. Unlock secondary effect when wearing full set of certain armors. The bonuses are as following. For Bone Mold Armor, 10% less incoming damage from blunt weapons, 20% fire resistance. Chillin is a -4 incoming weapon damage and additional -4 damage from bladed weapons. Chin and Heavy, same additional there. I won't go into toggle this read here. If you want to read it, you can read it yourself. But just know that if you wear certain wild armor such as Noric or Falmer or Bone Mold, you'll get additional perks for wearing that type of armor. So I believe I've covered everything there. And while we're here, we're also going to go a little bit up the speech. Now, speech is pretty much a silver tongue. You can talk to people, you get into few situations, you can hire people who like you as followers, things like that. Linguistics, buying and selling prices are 15% better. Shout cooldown is reduced by 5. Now this is actually interesting because you can actually use shouts now with this installed. You can use shouts to actually increase your speech. So if your speech is a little low, you can actually farm it out by shouting, random shouts within the game. So that's actually very useful. Linguistics level 2, buying and selling prices are 30% better. Shout cooldowns are reduced by 15%. Elegance. So persuasion is 30% easier, imitation is twice as successful. So during certain dialogues, you can either persuade someone to help you, or you can imitate or intimidate them. This is really good for story purposes. Bribery. Unlocks dialogue options to bribe guards to make them ignore crimes. We'll have to test that out, of course. Battle Anthem. Unlock lesser power Battle Anthem. When used, non-hostile actors within 100 feet range deal 25% more melee damage for 2 minutes. May be used every 5 minutes. So this is a good buff to start off when you are about to enter the battle, but be warned, I don't know if this works for enemies as well. This is one of the prodigies. The Diplomat unlocks Masquerade and Leadership, so we're obviously not going to use that, so we have more than enough perk points. Fluent Speaker, once every 5 minutes. Shouting reduces cooldown by 15% for 2 minutes. And then, of course, every 5 minutes this jumps up to 20% every 3 minutes. Ancient Magic. Harmful Shout's magnitude is X times stronger, where X is destruction skills times 0.25%. This is for level 1. For level 2, this increases to 0.5. Summoning Shout duration is increased by X, where X is conjuration skills. So again, this is something that you might want to mix if you're a mage as well. This is one of the beauties of this perk. You don't have to play to certain classes that are listed here. This is just a generalization. You can always mix and match. Heroism. Battle Anthem additionally increases armor rating by 100%. And then at rank 2, and boosts its destruction spells magnitude and ranged weapons by 15%. Leadership. Grants lesser power Leadership. When used, opens up a dialog box that allows you to recruit up to 2 monks of different classes. 2 recruited monks may not share the same class. Recruiting a monk costs 1,000 gold. Only works while not in interior cells. Recruited monks are at 40% of your level. When using Leadership, might spawn named NPC instead of normal hirelings. He is at 80% at the player's level and has additional skills. Spawn chance is 5%. Interesting. Again, we will try this out. May recruit up to 2 monks of the same class, so that pretty much negates what leadership does. Strength in numbers. May recruit 3 monks in total. May recruit 4. So pretty much you can bring along an army if you want, more or less, along with followers. You can also summon pretty much on-call mercenaries, if you will. And then lasting impression. Battle Anthem initially kills any enemy within reach whose combined level and speechcraft level are lower than your speechcraft. So that's actually a really big buff there. Rank 2, Battle Anthem initially reduces all hostiles' target movement and attack speed by 15%. So, disarm and charisma. While wearing clothing only and while one piece of clothing is expensive, incoming damage is reduced by 25%. These perks demand one piece of expensive clothing, at least 2 pieces of clothing total, and neither heavy or light armor. So you'll need regular clothing, which you can buy at almost any shop in Skyrim. Rank 2 of this, while wearing normal clothing only, and while one piece of expensive, incoming damage is reduced by X%, where X is the speechcraft skill. These perks demand one piece of clothing, or etc. Same thing as ranked 1. Affection. Turns all members of the opposite sex with positive disposition to potential followers, and increases their disposition to 3 if it's lower than 3. Turns everyone with positive disposition into a potential follower, and increases their disposition to 3 if it was lower than 3. Masquerade. While wearing a faction's full set of armor, you're recognized as that member of that faction. So this is something that may also be used for good for thieves. So say you're working with these Stormcloaks and you need to sneak into an Imperial place. If you have an Imperial set of armor, you can actually wear that armor and pass as an Imperial soldier. Now, I don't know if this works against you if you walk into a Stormcloak camp wearing Imperial armor where they recognize you as an Imperial. Grand Facade. Unlocks a Dark Cowl, crafting recipe at the tanning rack. When committing crimes, while wearing the Dark Cowl, the crime goal won't be related to your true identity unless you're seen equipping or unequipping it. While wearing the Dark Cowl, one cannot intimidate conversation, or initiate conversation, excuse me. So we'll go here. Merchant can sell any type of item to any kind of merchant. That includes stolen goods. Can invest 500 gold within his shopkeep to increase his available gold permanently. Can barter stolen gold from the merchant you have invested in. Every merchant in the world gains 10,000 gold of bartering. So there are a few things here we can try out. So we'll X out of here and just give a couple of things to see how they look. And that was not English, I apologize. We're going to X out of here and then try out some of the perks that we obtain with both the speech and the Wayfar.
We're a small village, but we work hard.
So we have someone here of the opposite sex, of course. If we talk to him, we get a new dialogue option just simply called Hug. Now, while this may not seem much, what this does is increases their...
Huh?
It pretty much increases their likelihood of them being a potential follower for you.
I own the lumber mill and pay fair wage.
Hey, look, first person hug. That was creepy.
Only worry we've got is the war reaching. Years past, the lumber was used for houses.
Also worked with males too.
Now, the soldiers just buy it all.
Still very creepy in first person.
Divine smile on you, friend.
And as you can see, usually he's not a follower.
Lead the way.
Now he is a potential follower.
The thought of my wood being used for weapons makes me sick.
I've got your back. I'll head back home if you need me.
And this works for almost any potential NPC. If they like you enough, you can potentially turn them into NPCs, and that's part of the speechcraft. And see here, we have someone of the opposite sex. We're going to try this again. Camilla Ventress, or Valorous, excuse me.
I came here from the Imperial Province to work with my brother Lucan.
Give her a creepy hug.
It got bad back in Cyrodiil.
And as you can see, she's now a
war
follower.
with the Thalmor ruined everything.
Talk to the merchant.
The Riverwood Trader is everything you need in a general store.
And as you can see here, we have a new dialogue option called I like to make an investment in your business.
Excellent. I think you'll be glad that you made this decision.
Let's see what we can do with this. 500 gold.
Thank you. I'll be sure to put it to good use.
Now, he is actually now one of your fences. He not really works for you, but investing gold into him, which means you get a sort of a reduction in prices for items bought, and you can also sell stolen goods to him.
Trinkets, odds and ends. That
So,
sort of thing.
as you can see here, we have a stolen weapon. Usually we wouldn't be able to sell it, but because we invested in him, he'll now take our stolen weapons. We'll also get a reduced price. See, these books usually cost around 100 to 150 gold. Same with potions. Pretty much anything that he has is at a reduced price now. And this works for any merchant in the game that you decide to invest in. So of course we have the ability Wild Companion is once after resting, call a creature whose lore you know to your aid. As you can see, we have a pretty good amount of followers here that we can summon to us. I don't know what a Betty Niche is. Oh god. Not gonna lie, that was pretty creepy. So that's pretty much what you can do. That is extremely, extremely creepy. But it acts as a follower. We'll summon a bandit here, and we can see it in action. Now, here's something interesting. Usually bandits attack you on sight, but because we have a sort of charisma about us with the help of the Wayfarer and the Speechcraft, they don't automatically attack you on sight. Now, we can actually use this to actually use another spell that we learned is Harmony. So we're going to start a fight here.
Now ain't this a surprise?
Now, Harmony activated. They shouldn't be attacking us, but they are. It's supposed to be, while active, all creatures with no lore will attack you. Interesting. But they're still attacking. Regardless, interesting enough, this one doesn't seem to work. But as you can see, our pet's pretty useless. So moving on to the last perk that you may be using as a thief is the Alchemy. Now Alchemy allows you to create magical potions, deadly potions, and explosives. At rank 1 of the Alchemist, you get potions, poisons you mix are X times better, where X is plus Alchemy skill level at 0.2. Can combine tier 2 restore health, magic stamina points to tier 3 potions. At level 2, this is increased to 20%, or not 20, where X is 20 times whatever 0.4 your alchemy skill is, and can combine tier 3 restore magicka stamina potions at tier 4 potions. This increases to 0.6, 30 plus 0.6, excuse me, and this can be combined for 4 restore health, magic stamina potions to create tier 5 potions. The Tinker instantly grants field alchemist and skill enhancer rank 1. Distillation, poisons applied to weapons last for 1 more additional hit. Poisons applied to weapons last for 2 additional hits. Unlocks the recipe for Poison Vial and grants the toggle ability Poison Armor. While Poison Armor is active and while you have a Poison Vial in your inventory, each incoming melee hit, blocked or not, consumes a Poison Vial from inventory and deals 10 plus Alchemy skill divided by 100 poison damage to the attacker. Interesting. So we will definitely be trying that out. The Physician, potions that restore health, magic, and stamina last 25% longer when consumed. Now, this is actually interesting because potions no longer stack, but they last longer if you use this. So be careful of those who like to down potions. They don't stack. The ones that use a healing over time, now you have to actually be careful if you consume those. At rank 2 of the Physician, this increases from 25% to 50%. Fast metabolism. Potions that restore health, magic, or stamina have double magnitude and half duration when consumed. So they work more, but they don't last as long. Adhesive Explosives unlocks Adhesive Explosives recipe at Cooking Pot. Adhesive Explosives act as a poison that deals 1% damage per second over 15 seconds. Once the effect finishes, 1 of 3 effects will occur. If the target is not engaged in combat, it instantly dies. If the target is engaged in combat and not a dragon, it takes 25% of its base health as damage. If the target is engaged in combat and a dragon, takes 10% of his base damage, base health as damage. Additionally, a non-elemental explosion triggers around the target. The explosion deals 30% damage within a 20 feet radius and ragdolls. Interesting. Elemental Burst unlocks the Fire, Frost, and Shock Bear Trap enhancements at the Forge. Unlocks recipes for Chill Paste, Thunder Paste, and Flame Paste at the Cooking Pot. Bear Traps enhanced with elementals deal 5% of elemental damage per second for 5 seconds to every target within a 25% radius. Elemental Traps have a 30% chance to break when triggered. Paste items act as poisons that deal elemental damage. Flame Paste deals 5% damage per second for 6 seconds. Chill Paste deals 5% frost damage to health and stamina for 6 seconds. And Thunder deals 5% to health and magicka for 6 seconds. Venomous Cursion, I'm pronouncing that wrong, I already know. Poisons you create that cause fear, fury, calm effects that are X times better. What alchemy is, or X is alchemy skill times 4. Poison Burst. Oh, jeez, this is a long one. I can't even read all of it. So, unlocks a Poison Missile enhancement at the Forge. Poison arrows deal 3% damage per second over 30 seconds to all targets within a 150 radius. Unlocks the recipe for Bear Trap, Paralyzed Flask. Bear Trap Poison Flask and Spikes Poison Flask. So, again, I'm not going to read all this for the sake of time, but if you want to get into more detailed description, there's a document file for each one of these as well. Overdose. Poison Armor consumes up to 2 Poison Flasks per incoming hit and deals twice as much damage. The recipe for Poison Flask outputs 8 items instead of 5. Elemental Bombard. Unlocks Fire, Frost, and Shock Missile enhancements at the Forge. Arrows and bolts enhanced with elements deal 30% damage of elemental damage on impact within a 20 feet radius. There's a lot of perks for the Alchemist, just so you know. Mutation, beneficial potions that do not restore health, that don't restore health, magic, and stamina last twice as long. So these are potions that allow you to pretty much increase your one-handed skills and increase pickpocketing, things like that. They last twice as long. Overstimulation, all beneficial potions last 15% longer when consumed. While under the effect of a beneficial potion, all skills level 15% faster. That's something that you could probably abuse. Fuse unlocks the explosive missile enhancement at the Forge. Arrows and bolts enhanced with explosions cause an explosion on impact that deals 60% non-elemental damage within a 150-foot radius and ragdolls. Skill Enhancer. Flask may enhance 3 traps instead of 2. Recipes for missile enhancement, alchemy or not, generate 20% more output. Paste and recipes generate 1 more additional paste. Flask. Flask may, this is for rank 2 of Skill Enhancer. Flask may enhance 4 traps instead of 3. For missile enhancements, alchemy or not, greater 40% output, and this generates 2 additional paste. Advanced Explosives unlocks the Time Ball missile enhancement at the Forge. Arrows and bolts enhanced with the Time Ball cause a non-elemental explosion 4 seconds after the impact on a non-living surface that deals 120% non-elemental damage within the 150-foot unit radius that ragdolls. Unlocks the Explosive Bear Trap enhancement at the Forge. Explosive Bear Traps detonate when triggered and are destroyed. They deal 60% non-elemental damage with a 30-foot radius and ragdoll. Field Alchemy. You can use crafted or albex from your inventory and to do alchemy anywhere. Unlocks craftable albex at the Forge. Or alembic, excuse me. Purity. Poisons you mix have no positive effect, and poisons you mix have no negative effects. So, interesting. So, any poison that you make from here on out won't have a positive effect on you, and any potion won't have any negative effects. So, usually potions that you have that may increase your health but decrease your stamina no longer will decrease your stamina. Any poisons that you make that decrease a target's health while increasing your health will no longer increase your health. So, a lot of stuff to try out here, so let's get started with that. So, we're borrowing someone's house for a cooking pot, but before we do that, as you can see, we now have bear traps, and the way these work is you don't equip them, you drop them. So, for example, if I wanted to use a bear trap, I would try and put it in position, and then drop the bear trap. So that being said, if we go to the cooking pot, we now have arrows that we can use from going from explosive, fire, frost, light source, interesting, poison, shock, and time bomb. We'll actually buy some of these and go over each one after I go over all the demonstrations that you can do now that you have pretty much full alchemy skills. This is just regular food. There's nothing really important here. The miscellaneous is where you're going to probably be spending most of your time. Here you have the Adhesives Explosive, causes 1 point of damage per second, 15 seconds, then detonates for instant kill on unsuspecting targets. So this is something that you can slip into an unsuspecting enemy. Bear Trap Fire Flask, enters up to 2 bear traps with elemental fire bombs. Fire bombs. This is for frost, paralyzing, poison, shock. Camouflage Tendrent, for 600 seconds camouflage may be used. That's actually pretty interesting. Chill Paste deals 7 points of frost damage per second for 9 seconds. Flame Paste, Poison Vial. And of course you have your regular potions. Spike Poison Flask. Enables 2 sets of spikes with poison. The poison affects anyone stepping on the spikes and lasts until the spikes are removed. Thunder Paste. So we'll go over some of these as well. So we're going to be showing off a couple of the arrows now. More or less the iron, fire, frost, and explosives. For the explosive and the time bomb will actually summon people. But here's just a general look of what the frost arrow looks like. Fire arrow. There's the explosive arrow. I would be very careful with this because you can actually kill innocents. But of course, people are going to use it on innocent characters anyway. But if you're going to use this in a group of allies and enemies, it's best to be careful where you aim. The final one is the time bomb, which actually needs to be required to hit on the surface and not an enemy, so my mistake there. There you go. So you can actually set up traps with the different arrows. So very cool stuff there. And if you want to actually make alchemy on the go with the Alembic, just it says you can equip it, but whenever you try to use it, you can now make stuff on the go. So just for the hell of it. There you go. And now you can make potions. But I have to be near alchemy table. Very useful stuff. Now, of course, one of the abilities that you get is poison armor. And if you remember, whenever you have a poison flask, whenever you activate this ability and an enemy hits you, you automatically use one of your poison vials and the enemy is hit with poison armor. So, as you can see, poison armor activated. That's a really nice effect, actually. I like that a lot. And we'll summon a enemy here. We'll summon 2.
Now ain't this a surprise?
Now with this armor, as you can see, whenever they attack, one of my poison flasks is automatically afflicted to them. Also works for ranged attacks.
At your best, huh?
So very cool stuff with that. That's a really nice effect too. I think that's really, really cool. And finally, the last thing I'm going to be showing off is the different types of bear traps that you can do with both alchemy and, of course, with the other perks that you've obtained. So, when you upgrade to Alchemist, or the Alchemy perk, you can now make bear traps, which is, like I said before, just drop one, just to give a demonstration. And you'll drop down a bear trap. Now, of course, this is just a non-active bear trap. What you need to do is make these bear trap flask. I'm going to make one of each. And at the bottom, as you can see, we have the bear traps. I'm going to drop down a fire one. Always a problem when you drop something in Skyrim. So there we go. Regardless, we're going to summon a bandit, and we're going to try and get the visual effect of this bear trap. We only need one.
You picked a bad time to get lost, friend.
He is really avoiding that bear trap. There we go. As you can see, pretty good amount of damage. You know what? We can actually drop down the others as well, because it's going to be just as that difficult to get the rest of them in. So we're going to drop down a frost bear trap. Did he catch my bear trap? I think he caught my bear trap. Interesting. Okay, so he activated it, but... Okay, so that's what happened. So once you drop down a bear trap, a target cannot be affected by another bear trap. So we're going to drop down a frost bear trap. We'll summon another bandit here. I don't understand why bandits actually summon behind you. That's actually really weird.
You picked a bad time to get lost, friend.
There, you can see is the frost equivalent of the bear trap. Next up, we're going to be showing off the paralyzed bear trap, which I think is probably going to be one of the more useful ones. That one and the poison. The fire and the frost actually don't do a lot of damage. So there it is the paralyze. Summon another bandit here. And accidentally pressed the wrong key, so we're going to summon another bandit. Hi.
Thought I heard something.
So there he is. He's now paralyzed. Not for long, but enough that we actually do a good amount of damage to him. Next up is a poison bear trap, which you're probably going to get the gist of what it does, but just for the sake of showing it off. Promise not to press the wrong button this time.
Just a scratch.
There we go. And that actually did a lot of initial damage. And plus he's poisoned, and actually did a nice area of effect, so... Combine this with the sneaking perks, or the stealth perks, you can actually do a lot of initial damage before the fight. And the last bear trap we're going to be showing off is the shock bear trap. Place that down, and of course it turns over because Skyrim hates me. So just going to do this here. Don't know why I gotta make this difficult for Skyrim, but okay. We're gonna try this again. There we go.
Thought I heard something.
And there we go. That is the shock bear trap. That one actually did a lot of damage as well, surprisingly. Actually, almost forgot. Additionally, with the bear traps, you actually get these spike traps, which are pretty much like the ones that are used mainly by ninjas. So, same effect here. I'm only going to be showing off the poison spike poison spike flask. It's the same concept along with the shock, the paralyze. Whenever you use it, as you can see now, you get poison. You get the poison spike. Excuse me, had a brain fart there for a second. And as you can see, you can spread these out, drop them one by one. And of course, we'll get another bandit to demonstrate this. As you can see, did a lot of initial damage. Now, these can also affect you as well, so be careful on where you step. Of course, I have got, for just the sake of argument, I'm going to take off God mode. As you can see, it also poisons the user. So unlike bear traps, the spikes are actually both a hindrance and a nice perk for yourself, so be careful of that. Okay, so I actually did miss two important things here with the speech, and I apologize for that. One of them is the leadership effect. Now what this does is, whenever you use it, you can hire a mercenary. If you level this up to the full extent, you can hire up to 4 followers or mercenaries. These cost 1,000 gold apiece.
Need something?
Now you have a hired mercenary.
Speak, elf.
You can do this again.
Need something?
You'll have a hired wizard.
Yes?
A hired defender. And just for the sake of it, we're going to have another mage. This mage has a katana. So this allows you to summon up to 4 mercenaries when leveled up to full extent. And also forgot to show off the battle anthem. What battle anthem does. We'll go back up here and read it one more time. As you see here, when used, all non-hostile actors within 100 feet range deal 50% more melee weapon damage for 2 minutes, may be used every 5 minutes. So, here's everyone in a 100-foot radius. There's no initial effect, but as you come over to the active effect, you can actually see that you've used Battle Anthem, and for 300 seconds you can use it again. We'll summon a group of bandits here just to give a nice final battle here. So that'll be a fair fight. Maybe.
Hey!
Did I say fair fight? This is a massacre. That was nowhere near a fair fight. I am so sorry. But regardless, that's what both the battle anthem and the leadership perk does. So that is going to do it for the Perkus Maximus Thief class. This is a lot longer than I expected, but as requested, I went over as much detail as possible for this class. Now, there is one thing I need to fix for myself. I've said in an earlier video. I forgot that you can actually do Legendary. And what this does, if those who don't know, in patch 1.9 of Skyrim, Legendary lets you actually reset skills and get all your perk points back and increase your level even further. So you can potentially have every skill tree for every perk. Of course, you'll need to reach about level 252 if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, that's just wanted to fix that mistake. But as you can see, this took almost an hour to go over everything, and I don't mind doing that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the Thief class. I would suggest you definitely play with this yourself. Just don't go off my word for it. Start a new game and just kind of play with the mod itself, and you'll get more of a grasp on it than just me sitting here explaining to you and showing it to you. As always, I will leave a link in the description below for the mod itself. be sure to check out the first video explaining what the Perkus Maximus mod is and for the Mage class. And now we only have one more video to go, and that is the Warrior. I don't know if it's going to take as long as this one, but if that's what you guys want, again, I will go over every detail for the Warrior as I did with the Thief. So yeah, I always suck at ending videos, but I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.